Alright, now that we have moved on from the block shapes, let's go into one of these categories and just look at all of the blocks. We're going to go into the looks category first, and this is the purple blocks section, and you can just go in there and we'll go over what each of these blocks does. Alright, so first we have the say hello for 2 seconds. We already went over that one. We're just going to double click on these blocks to see what happens. When I double click on it, it says hello for 2 seconds. You can obviously change that number and it will say it for that amount of time. Remember, we're just on our cat right now. Say will just say something and it will do it indefinitely or indefinitely until you tell it to say basically blank. So if I click on this blank one, I just backspaced it, then it won't say anything. But if I tell it to say something, then it will. Also, if it's already saying something without any time and you tell it to say something with time, then it should go away after that. Think is basically the same as hello, except it's in this different types of bubbles. You see, if I do say hello, we've got this kind of arrow bubble. But if we do think, it's got those little circle bubbles. And that's the only difference for that. Works the same otherwise. We've got show and hide, pretty self-explanatory. Just double click on show, nothing happened. Alright, let's see what happens if you do hide. The cat disappeared. Can you still say things when you're hidden? Doesn't look like it. Alright, but you can still show, and he was saying it even though he was hidden, but it also hid with him. So we can just make him say nothing, like this. Alright, great. So show and hide, just basically show and hide the cat's image. Makes sense. We could switch costumes here. If we go to the costumes, you can see he's got two. It kind of looks like he's walking if you just click between these two. We've got Cat 1A and Cat 1B. Not the best naming conventions, but that's kind of what they gave us. So you can just switch to a certain costume. You can click on this drop down and go to A, double click, and it goes to that costume. Go to B, and then you'll see his foot's flat here, but now it's angled. Alright, cool. So you can switch to a specific costume using that block, or you can just use the next costume block and double click on that. And the next costume block does jump back to the beginning once you get to the end of the costumes. So it'll just go in order of the costumes that you have here. And you can just click on it and you can see that the cat is transitioning, so you can kind of make it look like he's walking if you just click on it a whole bunch. Next, you can also change the backdrop from within any sprite. So the backdrop is within the stage. Excuse me. So we can make a new backdrop by painting it. I'm just going to do some scribbles so you can tell that these two backdrops are different. Okay, so we're going to go into our cat now, and we're going to switch the backdrop to the second one, the one we just made. And you can see we can change the backdrop from within any sprite itself. Cool. Down here we've got effects, so you can change color effect, and that if you keep on clicking it, it'll change the effect over time. Now you can change any of these effects, which there's a whole bunch of them. Ghost effect will make him disappear. You can use this block down here to just clear the effect completely, or you can use the set effect to a certain value. So say I want to set the ghost effect to make him disappear. So I can do 100 here. 100 means 100% ghost. Boom, he disappeared. Now if he's ghosted, he's not hidden, so he can still say things while he's ghosted. So if you want a sprite to kind of disappear, you can do that, and he can say stuff while he's disappeared and not hidden. Now you can do ghost effect, of course. You can do 50% ghost. He's like, woo, and you go back to 0, and that's basically cleared it. And this is true of any of the effects. I'll just do one more effect for sake of example. I'll do the fisheye effect. If you set it to 0, we can also change it by 25, and he kind of gets bump like a fish. That's the fisheye effect. So we can set it to 100. That's what it looks like at 100. I think you can even do negative 100. Let's try it. And he might be sucked into himself. Maybe not. Okay, you can only do positive numbers for this. Alright. You can, whoa. I don't know what that was. Anyway, maybe you can do negative numbers. Okay. Anyways, let's just clear the graphics effects for that, and we'll see what happens. Alright, we also have this size. So we can change our size by a positive number to make him larger, obviously you can do a negative number as well, and it'll get smaller, or you can set the size to a specific percent value. 100% is the same size that you drew it at, and anything else was just relative to that. So if you do 50% the size, then he's going to get smaller. You can always go down pretty low. He's really tiny. You can go more than 100%. We'll do 200. He's pretty big. Makes sense. Now, at the bottom here, you can see you could check off this, and it shows his size. And we set it to 200, and it says 200 up in that corner. You can set it to 100, and it will say 100 up in that corner. When we change it, you can see the value changes as well. You can drag this out, double click on it. It's a reporter, which means it'll tell us what the value is. When I double click on it, it says, hey, it's 90. So cool with that. You can also do that with the costume number. When we were changing the costume, you can see that it changes from 2 to 1 to 2 to 1. It's also a reporter, so you can double click on it, and it'll tell you that. Reporters can appear on the stage if you just click on the checkbox, so that's pretty cool. We also have the backdrop name. We already kind of went over that. We have all these other options here, which are go to front and go back one layer. Now, I'll need to create another sprite in order to show what's going on here. So I'm going to just grab a sprite, and I'm going to use, well, I'll just use cat 2. Or why not? Let's do the flying cat. Alright, so now we've got these two cats, and let's make them overlap. So I'm just dragging it into position, and notice that the flying cat is in front of the cat that we had before. If you double click, if you go back to cat 1 and double click, then he, on the go to front block, then he goes to the front of all the sprites. So they're all kind of in a layer. And if you do go to front, then it jumps to the front layer so that you can see it. If you go to back, then it will go back a layer. Now, do notice that when I click on the flying cat, that it has no scripts. But when I click on cat 1, it does have scripts. This is because each sprite, which is an object basically, has its own scripts. So they can all do different things. Alright, so we can go back one layer and it goes behind him. And if you ever need to send it to the back, you could just send it back like 1,000 layers if you've got that many sprites. Alright, so that pretty much covers the entirety of the looks block section. Remember, if I was talking a little too fast in any parts, you can always slow down the video. We're on YouTube, so you can just slow down the video. Feel free to pause and rewind and, get the most out of this that you can. Just go at your own pace. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.